Hey everyone, welcome back to Iron Bay Research. I'm here with my wife Kara, and we are going to talk about our experience flipping homes. I think last time we alluded that I had left my job at Amazon, and we were going to try something new,
Right.
and house flipping just seemed like a path we really wanted to get into.
Right.
Mainly, I was the main driver behind that because I was gonna, excuse me, I was gonna spearhead it. Instead of doing my job at Amazon, I decided I didn't want to work for anyone anymore in real estate. My family was in real estate, not like serious, but they were involved, and I felt handy. So I foolishly thought that was the criteria needed to flip a house.
And I forget, did you get your real estate license before you were going to do your first flip, or was that something you did after the first two flips?
I think I had it by the time we listed it. I remember.
Right. We knew we still wanted to use Gary because he was professional and a really good friend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what we need to talk about is
like the conversation.
The conversation we went to Gary. How did it go with me and you? Was it something where you just came to me and were like, I think I want to try doing this?
Yeah. And so to kind of go back in time, we had just bought our house. We had done a lot of little renovations, nothing serious. We did the flooring, paint.
Family help us.
Yeah, but
so we didn't claim to be professionals, but we were feeling confident that we kind of knew what went into it a little bit.
Yeah, and also I had worked some construction jobs too, so I had touched a little bit of everything, but not nearly as much as I should have. But so yeah, we I don't really recall our conversation. I think we knew we were going to do something because we were even tossing, and we can talk about this in another episode. We were talking about opening up a franchise, doing some sort of small business. We just knew for sure. I just knew for sure I didn't want to work for someone anymore. Right. I just kind of wanted to go out on my own, do my own thing, and I wanted to give it a try.
And I think because we had bought our first home, like we had spoke about in a previous episode, buying a home didn't feel as scary anymore, you know, even if it was for an investment. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big hurdle sometimes to get past is just the idea of owning a second home. But we had talked real numbers on this on a previous episode too, and we shared that our mortgage for the time and was super cheap.
Yeah, it was about 17, 18.
Yeah, so we felt like we were able to support another mortgage for at least $1,500 or so.
Yeah, and I don't remember what the mortgage was on the new flip property, but we'll take it from the top. Yeah. We ended up, we were on board. We're like, hey, let's do it. Right. I had resigned from Amazon. I reached out to the agent that sold us our house, and we said, hey, we want to meet you for dinner. Right. We went to Not Your Average Joe's.
We did, yeah.
And we said, hey, I told him, we want to flip houses. What do we do? Right. And he actually worked with a couple of house flippers, and so it was
right up his alley.
It was right up his alley.
Yeah.
And he kind of walked us through a little bit.
Did we say it was the same realtor that we
bought it was the same agent that we bought our house from.
Who we really liked and respected a lot. Yeah. So his opinion mattered to us.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So we ended up giving it a crack. We said, hey, this is how much money we have. What can we do with this? And we kind of got down to work because, again, with flipping, you don't make money until it sells.
Right.
And so
at this point, did we use, because with our current home at the time, we had used the VA loan, correct?
Yes.
So did we use an FHA to buy Culpeper?
No. We used a conventional construction loan.
A construction loan.
Yeah, okay. And so now my job as a real estate agent is I help some clients walk through this stuff. So I'm now on the other side of this conversation, and I definitely, through my experience, I wish I had asked better questions and wish we had done it differently. But hey, you can't go back in time, and I think part of being an investor, business owner, whatever you want to call it, is taking responsibility. So no one, it was a shit show the first time, 100%. It was a shit show.
We're about to tell you how.
But it was no one's fault, but mine. This isn't at all pushing the blame anywhere else.
No.
I just wish I had known what questions what to ask. And the first one was financing.
Sure.
You know, how are you going to finance this? I didn't know that there were type of like loans, construction loans. And I remember we found a house that we liked, and we were scrambling to get financing in order.
Right.
I was literally driving around from bank to bank to bank. And the thing is, I didn't know what questions to ask. And that was really my issue.
Right.
We ended up
What kind of questions? What do you think? What type of questions would have changed the outcome?
There's so much more questions aside from what's the down payment, what's the interest rate. It's, you know.
Can you give me a couple?
So for example, with construction loan, you're given money to buy the house, but then you're also given money for the construction loan. And there's questions about how are the draws given? Am I given, you know, 2 increments of 20 grand? Or, you know, do you give me money first and then I do work? Or do I do the work first and you reimburse me?
Okay.
It's cash flow issues. It's, you know.
Oh, so you didn't even know how that was
going I didn't know any of this stuff. And it was questions on, you know, like how, in what condition can the house be? Like the house that we ended up flipping, it was a complete gut. Right. Nothing worked, not even the power. Or like nothing.
It was yucky.
Nothing worked. And so even questions on some construction loans, they don't let you go to that extreme. Sometimes you have to get some sort of insurance. There's a million questions, and I didn't ask a single one of them.
And you know what's crazy, looking back?
We pulled it off, but it was
we did, but why did we think... It seems so obvious now for your first time doing anything to do an easier version of that thing of whatever you're doing. Why did we not... Why the first flip where we just like... Oh, let's like build an entire house from the inside. I mean, that just seems, I mean, taking the blame myself too. Like, I saw the house and I was like, yeah, great. Like, why didn't that ever cross our mind to go, maybe we start with something like, that's just a paint job first and a kitchen.
In hindsight.
Not drywall, electric.
Yeah. I don't like going back in time because I really think that all your decisions lead to where you are now.
Well,
but I do think
that's what we're doing.
What would have been best would have been to partner with someone.
Right.
And have someone else. Because some people are always looking for people with cash. We had the cash. We had the experience. We should have put the money into someone else's deal and split the profits. Right. That 100% would have made the most sense. Then past that, it would have been finding an easier job. I think a little bit to do with confidence. We were overconfident. I think the confidence to leave a high-paying job to start a new business, that alone requires a lot of confidence.
Sure.
We had too much of it.
Were just...
Okay. And I was just like, let's do it. It was unfounded. Didn't observe any of it. So, yeah, we get into it. We find a house. We put a bid. I don't remember the exact number, but I think we bought it for like $190-ish.
Slow. So,
Sorry.
Disclaimer. We've shot this video before, and we lost it because our computer didn't have enough storage. So, Bryce is going through this emotionless.
Sorry, yeah.
We usually put a little bit more emotion into these. You're kind of just checking the boxes.
You're right. No, I apologize.
So I'm remembering from when we were shooting this previously that you had asked me what I thought about you doing this. And I just what my emotions were on it.
Okay.
And I remember saying that I just trusted you. I didn't really feel like you always put your everything into something. Yeah. So I didn't feel like, you know, worst case scenario, I'm buying a second home, right, is, you know, we have to hold it until it gets bought. And let's say we're holding it for a while and covering the mortgage for a while.
Yeah.
I just knew that you would do whatever you had to do based on your personality to make sure we were okay. So I didn't really... It didn't make me nervous in that way.
That's good.
And you did. We did. It was fine. There was a lot of mistakes. It sucked.
Bulldozed our way through it.
So much so that, now did you want to go into like
the actual steps?
Yeah.
So we found a house, got financing in order. In hindsight, we should have got financing, figured out before we even went shopping. I picked a house. I was an hour away, so the commute was horrible. And we bought this house.
Tell them why that could matter, proximity.
Well, that mattered because my schedule was in the morning, I would drive to Culpeper, which is an hour away. I'd be leaving like 5 or 6 in the morning. Right. I would get back around like 5-ish, 6-ish. Right. And then usually probably around 5. Then I'd shower up and drive an hour north to go to night school at Fairfax. Go to school till around 10. Then drive back home.
Right.
So it just made the 2-hour commute made an intense thing even harder.
Yeah, sure.
And it's hard to drive an hour after you're just tired.
Oh,
It sucks. But it just adds to the time, right?
Right.
So yeah, we found that house. We found this cute little. It was like 2-3 acres. I can't remember.
Right.
It was a 3-2. Funny enough, like a farmhouse bungalow, like type style. Just living room in the front, bedrooms in the back, on a little cute hill for $190. And funny enough,
$190.
Yeah, it was around $190. And funny enough, it was called B.W. Lane. My name is Bryce Wade.
It was the name of the street was Bryce's initials.
And we didn't really didn't click until
later.
We were selling oh.
How weird is that?
Should have been a sign to walk away.
No, that was the problem. It was too tantalizing.
Yeah, tantalizing, yeah. So, but yeah, we bought the house, we closed, and we got to work. And usually the way construction works is you hire a GC, and they coordinate everything. We were on a tight budget, so I was coordinating everything and hiring the subs, subcontractors being like the electricians,
doing the work that we couldn't do ourselves.
And then me, Kara, and then I had 2 friends that I hired out. We were doing a lot of the labor jobs that we could do, like
knocking
demo, some of the framing prep, flooring, stuff like that. We didn't touch the plumbing, electrical, or anything like that. Oh, and then I hired someone to build the deck too,
right?
Because I could do woodwork, but I couldn't do like nice woodwork. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and this was like midwinter. It was freezing.
I zoned out for a second. Did you mention we had a friend put in the cabinets and do the kitchen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we had a friend do the cabinets because I wanted those to look good.
And he did say he gave us the cabinets like at cost. He was a GC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he'd help he'd help us with the license stuff and the permits.
Yeah. So that was actually really nice. I think actually in hindsight we should have involved Andy a little bit more than we did.
Yeah.
Because he actually was a really great resource and helped us out a lot. I just think we were weary because we didn't know him like that.
No.
I think after dealing with the whole cabinet thing, we realized, oh, what a good dude. We should have leaned on him a little more.
Yeah.
So I think that's something too that we could have done maybe differently.
I feel like this whole episode is in hindsight, but really in hindsight,
Yeah.
Aside, if I was gonna do what I should have done, also another good idea would have been for me to stay at my job and hire a GC.
Right.
And even if you're looking at the cash flow, I'm working at one job and using that money to pay someone else to do other job. I think let's
look at this from as a good experienced investor.
Yeah.
We talked about opportunity cost last. Oh.
Yeah.
No, I was saying last episode, but actually it was the episode that we lost.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that.
Oh, yes.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Tell people what that is and why, as a good investor, you should have taken that into consideration here.
Well, we'll kind of get the numbers later, but here we ended up losing money. But what I should have done is not only did I lose money physically, like money at that account, but I also lost opportunity costs because I quit my job at Amazon. I wasn't working for 7 months, 6 months. I can't remember how long it took.
Right.
But what I should have done is stayed at my job and hired someone to be on site and just to do all of that. Even if it was dollar for dollar the same thing, that would have been a better situation because then it would have been done a little bit easier. And I still would have had my job. Like, if that had been the situation, I don't think I would have flipped again. I think I would have just stayed at Amazon and done my thing.
Right.
But then again, might not have ended up here.
And maybe to anyone listening wanting to do it again, we're not saying that, flipping's a bad thing, because eventually we'll tell you how we transitioned out of real estate.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that...
test the waters first.
Yeah, to dip your toe in. We kind of... you can do it either way, but we chose to learn drinking through a fire hose way. And I don't think that that's a great way because it was extremely stressful.
Oh, it was extremely stressful.
You can still learn by just dipping your toe in. Maybe not making as big of a profit, but make the juice worth the squeeze.
Yeah, or just an easier house. Even
just to see what all is involved.
It's all you're kind of picking examples. It's kind of hard to compare apples to apples. But like if I was new and I was to pick a house, let's say it's a big project and I make $50,000. And again, people that flip houses know, but people that don't think they make a lot of money. Even the best flippers, like the margins are tight.
Right.
Very, very, very tight. But say I had a house I was going to make $50,000 in another house that was a lot easier, but I'm only making like 10 to 20, even risking breaking even.
Right.
If I was starting out, I would do that easier project just to get started. Right. Like I always tell people getting started in this is like, if you break even on your first one, that is a win.
Sure.
Like because
it's
you aren't going out.
We jokingly after Culpepper called it an unpaid internship.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember. You learn so much because everything is a lesson.
Right.
Oh, do you do 3-inch or 5-inch baseboard and why?
Right.
Everything is just like what type of screw you use?
Yeah.
Why? What type of do you use quarter round? Why?
Right.
It's just everything is a YouTube lesson. And it makes every job that much harder when it's first time around.
Yeah.
And so
we were lucky to be in a position where Bryce could not work for that time because I was working. He was getting his disability and his school BAH, which we've talked about previously.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a position to do that, like you said, you definitely need something easier while you're working because that would just be crazy.
Oh yeah. So
and take you way too long if you're only doing it outside of work,
Yeah, it was a really difficult job, and I can't remember what the exact budget on the rehab was. I think we estimated like 70 or 80. And I remember, funnily,
what did we sell? Did we sell it for 3 something or
315 something?
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So I remember in the budget, I was off by about $5,000 or so.
Right.
I think I forgot to budget for drywall. It's like that just kind of like I remember I missed it. I was like, oh shit.
Which we ended up paying someone to do because I remember we did like 2 or 3 walls
and it looked horrible.
It was bad. We were like, yikes. I just remember holding it up and I was like, my shoulders, just screw it. Because I was like, I'm going to drop. I didn't realize how heavy drywall is.
Oh, yeah. It's a pain in the ass. Man.
So, we ended up paying someone to do that.
But, that's our landscapers mowing the lawn. So you just hope to get here.
This always happens.
I know. We're just going to hope. Thankfully, our front yard isn't very big, so it's like a couple passes.
I mean, we're being lazy. We could pause it and just I'll clip it.
I think we're good.
Okay.
So back to what I was saying is the rehab budget. I can't remember exact numbers. I remember I was off by about $5,000, which actually, in hindsight, isn't that crazy considering how big of a job it was. I mean, it was a complete gut.
Right.
From the roof to the plumbing underneath the house to rewiring, it was everything. But what I messed up as a flipper was I didn't really calculate the selling costs and holding costs. All the other costs, like selling and holding costs, I really whiffed on, and that's why when we ended up selling it, we actually ended up losing about 3-ish, 4-ish grand compared to the money I put in. Right. So it was a loss, and then again, I was working there. So,
and didn't we, before we sold it, we bought Maryland?
That's even crazier thing too. It's just
we knew it was going bad, and we bought another during the
Yeah, but it's when you do something, you think, let me just do one more
to see.
And so we actually ended up
because we were like, is it because we can improve on what we learned?
Exactly. You think, I can do this again. So
yeah.
But it was after we were done doing construction and when we listed. I think it was on the market for 2 months. I think we did one price drop. I guess we can talk about listing it too, but. Yeah, so I'll finish Culpepper first. So, we ended up listing it. I'm sure you have photos of it. It was really nice.
I'll put the photos up. Yeah. It turned out really great.
And that was never a mistake. We overdid it. I mean, it was a gorgeous kitchen, gorgeous bathroom.
We should have kept it simple.
We did the biggest deck you've ever seen in your life.
The deck was so big.
Yeah, it was like this. The
deck was the length of the house.
It was the length of a single car driveway.
It didn't need to be that.
It was massive. Yeah. We did nice landscaping. We had a shed.
But the lady who bought it was just an old, handicapped woman who probably is very enjoying the heck out of it.
Yeah, so, it was a really cute house. We did homemade handmade wooden shutters, everything. We did a lot of good work onto it. So. at least I can sleep well with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while that was on market, we ended up buying another one in Maryland, which is an hour north of us. So
didn't learn your lesson.
Didn't learn the commuting lesson.
But you did this time. You were like, I'm gonna hire a GC.
Yes. Okay. This one we learned some lessons, but then we learned some new lessons too.
Yes.
So this was an auction property. We ended up winning the auction. I think we bought it for like $100,000.
Yeah, we bought it super cheap.
Yeah. Which there's a reason why. Yeah. So we bought it really cheap. I found a GC that was fair price. There's a reason for that too.
Yeah.
And this time I used hard money for financing, which is a little bit, it's a bit more expensive, but it's more flexible in the terms and how you use it. So I'm sure people out there will say it's expensive for the rate, but it's more flexible and usable. So, take your poison. And yeah, we did that one. And this one we hired a GC for the most part. We kept the flip simple. Again, it was never a house with a lot of acreage. For some reason, they kept going to houses with big yards.
Yeah.
This one had, 3, 4
Just acres? I think because being born and raised, both of us in like the DC area,
it was appealing.
We thought that big yards were appealing because that wasn't a huge thing. So I don't know, maybe that spoke to us.
Yeah.
But I love this GC story because it's just wild and traumatic. And I remember before we chose the GC, Bryce had like 3 or 4 interviews with different GCs.
Yeah.
And the majority of them were men because it's a male-dominated industry, right? But there was one woman GC. And they were all, similar pricing.
Yeah.
But Bryce actually really did like the woman GC, and he was like, I want to give the benefit of the doubt and not feel like sexist towards the woman GC.
Yeah.
So I remember you decided to go with
this
her.
This is not bad. I should have been somewhat sexist.
No.
I don't know what to say.
That's why I'm speaking on your behalf, so it sounds
you say it better.
Not as shitty.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we ended up going with the woman GC, and she was shit. Like, she was awful.
No, it was a fucking nightmare.
Her worker was great. Like, the work they did was good. She was bad in that she lied on the draws and tried to tell us that Bryce didn't pay her, like, a couple $1,000 when he did. And he had proof. And she just got psycho. She literally became psycho, remember?
So it was that, and then they didn't
was crazy.
And they didn't add the installation to the house.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Ended up costing me, like, a lot of fucking
money. They didn't add insulation behind the drywall, so the house couldn't keep heater.
Yeah, so we'll start with the draw situation.
Yeah. So, do you remember exactly
I never exactly what happened.
I just remember she became, like, it was great. Like, everything was fine. The work was good.
Yeah.
Communicative. Like, she was actually not bad. And then all of a sudden, it just, like, went downhill with, she just became a crazy. And it was like, whoa.
So it was, when you do draws, it's very, like, you structure the contract the way you want. But it's like, we'll talk in percentages. Let's say they do 20% of the work. Then you pay them 20%. Like, usually you pay a little bit up front. Oh, sorry. So, we'll use easy. So let's say you're doing a job for $50,000. Usually you'll pay like upfront $25,000 or something, a small amount up front. They'll do work called 50%, and then you pay the other 25% or some sort of arrangement. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. It just, you have this arrangement that you can be very clear on what that is.
Sure.
You hear some upfront money, you do a little work, you give you a bit more,
right?
Blah blah. The point is, I was very like organized in that part. Like, I was having her say, hey, we'll do this in structures, and we'll sign off. Say, hey, I give you $10,000. I had like a whole ledger.
Right.
And then like halfway through, she tried saying I owed her like, it was like $4,000 or $5,000 more. And I was like, no. And I even showed her like all the checks that I had given to her that she had signed, that she had received. And I was like, I'm not seeing where this is. And she was like, and she like threw a big fit. She was like, fine, whatever.
And walked away.
And then I was like, oh,
right? They just left the house.
Yeah, but they were done. But I'm like, if I owe you, I'll pay you, but I don't.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, too, that was like the big issue. And I think they left with like 5% still need to be done.
Yeah.
And so I just got to bet on my own.
And I remember though, I feel like we had a good relationship with her worker, and I thought I remember him being like, sorry it went down that way. Cause
he was all right. It was just, and it wasn't only two. It was other stuff too. And like again, my experience, there was some stuff I didn't realize I should have done at the beginning. Like one was redoing the roof.
Yeah.
Another one was we had redone the flooring. And while we were having it ripped up, we should have done a bit better work on the floor joist below it.
Sure.
Kind of like support beam. We should have done that while the flooring was up.
Yeah, and here I'll take a moment to post some pictures of the Maryland house because it also turned out.
Yeah, another little cute. Like we're not failing because I didn't make cute little houses.
Yeah,
the failing is like I'm just bad at managing.
And I didn't do any of the design. Yeah. All the pictures I'll show of like the kitchens and stuff. That was Bryce picking out the colors. Yeah, and you had really good taste.
Thank you. But the biggest disaster was they didn't add insulation behind the drywall, the new drywall.
Well, and the disaster
was that in the flooring.
Was the flooring because we couldn't sell it. So our worst nightmare happened. We couldn't sell the house up.
Yeah, so Coldwell, you know, take a loss. We sold it, and if you know flipping, like holding on these houses is very costly because you either have to hold on to that loss or you refinance, turn them into rental. Yeah. This one, the flooring were kind of like wompy. So while they were flipping at the floors, a good GC, like their job is to tell you what you need, and a good GC would have been like, "Hey, you need to fix some of this stuff to do it better." Yeah. And that didn't happen there. And again, taking responsibility here. I'm the owner. I should have double checked that.
And if we had more experience, we would have known too. You know.
And that was a project where I was too out of it. Like I pulled up browser every day. This was like, let me take a step back and have the GC do it, and that was bad. So I can't figure it out. Yeah. And so the flooring was one, but the second issue was they didn't add insulation. And so they ended up getting mold issues. The tenant we had some crazy high electrical bills. Yeah. And we kept trying to fix stuff and figure out what it was. We got like the windows weren't sealed. Yeah. And then eventually, while we had a tenant there, we had to pay like $8,000 all in all to have it like demoed midway through, have insulation put behind the drywall, re-drywall, repainted. Very expensive.
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves though, because we couldn't sell it. What ended up happening?
Oh yeah, so
we couldn't sell it. We went under contract 6 times, I believe.
I wanted to talk about the content, like what happened with.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we'll go back to that.
Well, that's just really quick.
Yeah,
we tried selling it 6 times. We went under contract, and every time it was. The inspection spooked everyone because
and rightfully so.
Yeah, it wasn't in good shape, and the structural thing was a big issue because of the wonky floors. Yeah. So we literally couldn't sell it. So we did have to refinance and put a tenant in it.
Yeah, we were doing price drops too. And
but anyways, what?
So we refinanced it. I remember we put a tenant in there. It wasn't a good rental because just like it had a lot of land, and land doesn't really add. It adds cost to the cost of the home, but not really more so the rent. Right. And I remember the rent. We were losing money every month. I think the rent and the mortgage broke even. We still have like managing expenses, maintenance, blah blah blah. So it was a loser. It was another loser property.
When we shot this previously, you did mention the family aspect. Did you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, and so this one
because this is. Real.
Yeah, so this one was even more stressful because it's like to do the second one, I'd actually taken out a loan from my dad, and he did not charge family prices. It was like 12% or something.
You want to use the real number?
Yeah, it was like 12-13%.
No, how much?
Oh yeah, we borrowed for the down payment. It ended up being like 70. Yeah, so we borrowed $70,000 from my dad at 12% interest, and those that can do math. That's a lot. I don't have a calculator in front of me right now, but I don't know what that.
Yeah.
80, so that's $8,400 bucks interest a year.
It was not a favor. It wasn't
a favor. It was like an investment. I was like, hey, I wanted to make it so that he would make as much as a lender would, except he just was being easy about it. Like, let's just do this right now. And so we did that. On top of that, we had hard money loans, so we were losing money every month. Yeah. And I think in that too, there was like a personal loan in there too we had to pull.
So that was King George.
Yeah. So while there's lots of so while this overlaps because that's Rios too, is while this was happening, we also bought 3 other houses. We bought 2 duplexes and so
God, yeah. So okay, let's kind of wrap up the episode and let's leave a cliffhanger. It starts to get wild.
Yeah, and this is where like
lots of crying in bed at night.
Yeah, it got
lots of debt.
But the good news is we come out
danger.
Danger. In the moment, it was really stressful. It was bad, but then luckily we had 2 really good buys that actually
helped us.
The gains from those offset everything.
Yeah.
So we do come out ahead, but it was.
But yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up this episode,
and
the next episode we'll continue on. Loser flip Culpeper, loser flip Maryland, owed Bryce's dad a lot of money that he wasn't going to get back because we couldn't sell it, so we had to elongate his loan.
Yeah, we refinanced that one.
And then we bought another house at this, 3 other houses at the same time. And we're stupid. Like, why were we doing that?
Yeah.
So we'll tell you next episode.
Strangely enough, they're like the plan. Why do you keep letting me buy houses?
And you see, the trust for me is unlimited. I just trusted you, and I was like, "It's going great."
I wouldn't.
No, it was bad. Yeah,
but it worked. It
did work out in the end.
I don't want to say
we don't regret it.
I don't want to say that we got lucky because like the ones that we did win on, that's when we kind of like, what are we doing wrong here?
And would say
like pivoted.
We didn't quit. Yeah. We were like, this is bad. Let's see a way through, and how can we like keep going? So we kept pushing on, but it sucked during the time.
Yeah, but if you really think about it too, we didn't. So Culpeper, we lost like $3,000, but that one we lost time.
Yeah.
And then in Strauss, we ended up owing my dad the $70,000. But if you think about it, that wasn't. I think. Oh no, we only lost like maybe $30,000 there. Because a lot of that was just, we had used that as a down payment. We got that equity back.
We still had the home.
So really,
we didn't lose $70,000. We still had the house. We just wouldn't gain that back until later.
Until we ended up selling. Yeah. So it's like there wasn't like a dramatic hit. It was like a lot of little bleeds, a lot of frustrations. But we'll kind of
a lot of like. I remember the frustration just was like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Are we learning? We just felt like we kept making bad decisions. We were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't like in the poorhouse. It was just like, like, can we get it together?
Yeah. And I think that was part of it too. We just like, I did enjoy it, strangely enough. Like it was not like the pain of it. I enjoyed trying to problem.
So this was in one of our earlier episodes when we were talking about we enjoyed the pain of buying the loan process. Like we were like like it was a pleasure thing. And is that where you're going again?
Oh, so like you just, not sadist, like a masochist.
Get beat down,
yeah, just spank me around. So, but I get what I'm saying. Like, I think it's like
I know what
you're getting better at it. And you're like, next time I'll do this.
Yes.
But
there's hope.
There's hope. So,
but it just wasn't coming to fruition yet. We weren't going to see the fruits of any of that
until a year later
for a while, and I think that was really tough.
Yeah, it was for a while,
and we didn't know if it would ever come. Yeah. We were like,
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, but I think recognizing that.
Yeah.
So we got 2 bad flips out of the way. Well, one. What turns to a rental, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So we have one more bad flip to get out of the way, and then 2 really good buys that like
we can't wait to talk about. Yeah,
those are fun because that's when I think we really like. I was like, I thought I wanted to flip houses. I just wanted to invest in real estate. It's like, there's a whole other world here.
Yeah.
Let's pivot.
So then we'll talk about the world of long-term investing and how we got into long-term rentals.
Yeah, and then we pivoted, and it was just like. The skies opened up. It's cool.
Made so next episode will be a lot happier.
No, King George sucked.
Well, yeah.
King George was bad.
The next episode will start out sad, and then
we got one more bad one to go through. And we didn't sell Strauss for years later. That was
I know,
forever.
But we don't have to talk about that until.
Yeah. So, anyways,
hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah.
If you're as dumb as us, comment below and let us know. That misery loves company.
Yeah. If I had to leave one thing, if you're thinking about flipping a home, one is like take a step back and think. If you wouldn't start a construction company,
right,
don't start house flipping. Because that's what it is. Like, you are just buying yourself a job.
Yeah.
And not like a job. I'm saying, like, you're buying yourself a construction project to have a job at. That's what you're doing when you flip houses.
Yeah.
There are a lot of aspects in house flipping. So, like, right now, I'm a real estate agent that I work on the transaction side of house flippers, helping them, like, find the property, sell the property, walk them through the steps in the middle. I kind of took what really messed me up and said, hey, let me kind of learn what I did wrong and make that into something that can help people out. Mm-hmm. But that's what I do now. Or, if you're going to flip, partner with someone. Or better yet, but like, if anything, just like, if you think you know, like, take a step back and like read everything you can. Everything. Like, for like months. Yeah. Like, watch thousands of hours of podcasts that are all over the place. Watch videos, read some books on it.
Seek out what people thought that they did really wrong. Because I feel like that we only sought out success stories. Like, it needs to look good. It's all about the Like, we didn't focus on the bones in our learning at all. Yeah. Like, there's so much more to a house than just the paint and the bathrooms and the kitchen. Yeah. And the fixtures. Yeah. It's a lot more, getting through the inspection hurdles and making sure everything's up to snuff.
Even something as little as knowing to get the electrical done before HVAC. Right? Something that seems that's like, oh, I wouldn't have thought about that. I wish I had known. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that cost me like having to call guys out at different times. Just shit like that. It's just you have to learn it all the way through.
Right, sure.
So yeah. Other than that, thanks for joining us. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this and want more, subscribe or comment below. We'll see you here next time on Iron Bay Research. Bryce and Kara signing out.